Alright, hey guys, this is Druin here. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a walkthrough for the second build of my Tempest Rush guide. This should be a much cheaper build than the first part, which is the multi-hundreds of millions part. So what I did is I actually assembled a full set on a new level 60 monk. So I don't have any Paragon level bonuses or anything like that to skew how this would work. And I had some things already, and some people loaned me some things, but I'm going to try and show the price for all of them. So, Immortal King, or nope, that's wrong. Certainly wouldn't have bought that. There we go. Inna's Radiance, I bought for 3.5 million, and it has over 2 spirit generated, and that's all that matters. Is that right? No, it was 2.5 mil, right there. Inna's Vast Expanse is the most expensive. I went with Fire Resist because of Firewalkers that I happen to have, but it doesn't matter which resist you go for. Those cost 3.5 million. Inna's Belt for 2.2 million. Inna's Pants for 1.9 million. A Strong Arm Bracers for 200,000, and a Vile Ward for a little under 1 million. And then I already had, let's see. I bought these gloves. Let's see, these are Thief's Vision. Where are they at? Thief's Vision, purchased for 250,000. So basically free. And then this Stone of Jordan was donated to me. I don't actually recommend getting a Stone of Jordan with 10% Sleeping Wind damage because it costs $1 billion million. Instead, what you're going to want to do is go search equipment, armor, first stat, bonus versus elites, second stat, spirit regen, 20, search, buyout, and then just go down this list until you find one with Tempest Rush crit or Sweeping Wind damage, whichever one is higher. There was a Tempest Rush crit at like the 2 million level or something like that. Oh, that's not that great. Whatever. The point is, these things get thrown up there all the time. As long as you look for a little bit, you should be able to find one that's Tempest Rush crit or Sweeping Winds damage for a reasonable amount. You're looking to pay under 5 million would be what you'd be ideally looking for. Tempest Rush crit is better than Sweeping Winds damage, fairly significantly, because you're going to have lower crit than you would want anyway. There we go, that's the one. So 3 million right there. Has 1.47 spirit per sec, which is fine. Bonus versus elites is just a bonus. It's not really a thing that's necessary. And then, yeah, you get the improved Tempest Rush crit. So right there would be a ring that I would consider buying for this set. This Scorn was also donated to me. It's a very little life on kill Scorn. I also had this Scorn, and it worked fine with this Scorn as well, which doesn't even have life on kill. It's just a little bit more frustrating because when you come across reflex packs, you're less able to tank them than you would be normally. This Scorn is pretty cheap. If you just go search for Scorn, and let's do critical hit damage, dexterity, life on kill. Doesn't really matter. 160. So you can get these for super cheap. Here's one. Let's see. This one's fine. It's not that high life after kill, so maybe you want higher than that, like 2,000. Now you have to pay a little bit more for it. 2 million. This is probably pretty similar. You do a little bit less damage, but they're basically the same. It really depends on how much you want to spend. But that's going to be, this is not a 30 million gold weapon. It's pretty cheap. And if you actually want to do some diligent research, you can just sort by time left, hit the search button a lot. There'll eventually be a 1 day, 11 hour that's way cheaper than it should be, and you just buy it up. So there you go. Here's the exact same thing for 5 million. Yeah, so that's the Scorn I'm using. These boots I also found, and they are basically free. If you want the Vit, they cost a little bit more because people like these boots too much. And I went with Fire Resist only because I had these in my bank, and it's kind of cool to have a fire trail. I mean, we can check those price, but it's not very high. Okay. So we want boots with 150 dex, and then we want Vit. So these are free, like basically free, and they're almost identical to the ones that I have on, except that I have golden pickup radius, and then they're going to cost more because now you're looking for 2 stats. Honestly, you don't need firewalkers. So if I just don't make these firewalkers, look for the same stats, 200,000, whatever. Oh, you do need move speed though. Good call. Move speed's pretty important. Oh, I guess it's pretty much the same. So you might as well just get firewalkers if you're going to go for fire resist. So there you go. Boots. So this is my Hellfire ring. I'll show you that in game. And then this amulet is not representative of what you would want. I found this a million years ago. 260 Vit makes it higher priced than it ever would be ever for any reason ever because it's just so big. So if I do this, you see ridiculously huge numbers, but it's only because 200 Vit is way high for an amulet. You can look for something like this. There you go. 4 million. It's got Vit, fire resist, crit damage. It's all you need. It doesn't have to have any other stats. It's pretty cheap. I will have artificially higher health than I would normally because of it. But that's what happens when you try and spend the least amount of money you can possible, is you have little or less health than normal. So that's all my gear. Grand total is, I don't know, I'll add it up at some point. It's pretty low. It's significantly less than any single item on my other build. So at least there's that. Alright, so it's basically the same strategy. You're going to be using this spec, which is Deadly Reach Foresight still to buff up your Sleeping Winds. Tempest Rush Tailwind still so that you move fast. Blinding Flash Faith in the Light, same thing, so you can buff up Sleeping Winds. Sleeping Wind Cyclones, same thing because it's good. 7-sided Strike Fulminating Onslaught, same thing because it kills elites. And then you switch from MOC Submission to Mantra of Healing Circular Breathing so that you can generate enough spirit without using Zephyrin Amulet and with having a low spirit per second Stone of Jordan, and that really saves a lot of money. Same chant, same Guardian's Path, and then switched out Fleet with one with everything so that you don't have to get all resist on all your gear. As you can see, I have 100,000 damage unbuffed. I would try and get to about 100,000 damage. It's just going to make it really slow if you don't have that much. Still using the Templar. Put a Hellfire on him so that you get some more experience, specifically. I don't know, I guess it doesn't say it here, but it does give you experience. Yeah, so that's all it is. This is the Hellfire I'm using. It's a fairly well-rolled Hellfire, but it's also not amazing. You could get more crit than that. You can get more stats. I do recommend having critical chance on your Hellfire. So I have 38% chance to crit, and it's not high enough. I have 440 all resist thanks to one with everything, which is plenty. I'm sitting at 27.5 thousand health. That's okay, and like I said, if you don't get Vit on some of these items, you're going to be hurting a little bit more. So you might have to spend more than I did due to not having donated items. But it won't be significantly more. So I have 5.61, and then I put on MOH Circ, and I have 12.95 spirit per sec. It costs 10.8 spirit per second to channel Tempest Rush, which means I can Tempest Rush forever. And yeah, so let's see how this works out. The basic strategy is the same, but because you have lower DPS, you have to do a little bit more. Oops, I'm supposed to use that to activate. There you go. All right, put the Foresight buff on you. Face northeast, and then Blinding Flash, Faith in the Light. Turn on Cyclone, and now all your little cyclones will go up and to the left. Alright, and so now it's just the general check over here. I'm going to do the exact same run that I've been doing, because I wouldn't change that. So there's no elite, which means it's going to be a lower XP per hour run than it would be otherwise. And one thing people need to keep in mind is that whenever you see someone post XP per hour numbers, including myself, that's really variable. Like, really, really variable. If there's just not enough elites in a given path, it's going to be a lower XP per hour run. And so, generally speaking, XP per hour postings, unless they were done over like an hour of averages, are very difficult to base things on. Obviously, I'm going to post the best possible XP per hour numbers I can, so that you can get a sense of what it's like, what the best possible scenario is. In your own testing, if you get slightly less, don't be surprised. That's totally normal. So these are two of the better shrines that you can get, Enlightened Shrine and Fleet Shrine. Enlightened Shrine is probably the best because it just gives you more XP for doing the same thing. Fleeting's pretty good, although it is a double-edged sword. Moving faster means you hit less times per pass. So every time you pass by a mob, you actually hit less times with Tempest Rush. Oops, should have 7-sided striked way earlier there. Right, so you're running past them faster, so Tempest Rush hits them less, and what that means is that you proc less cyclones. And also Sweeping Winds just has less time to do its damage. And that can be a real issue. So you can see I'm fighting against mobs right now that have reflex damage and health link, which is one of the harder combinations of affixes, and it was totally fine. I didn't have any lifesteal on my weapon. I have 0 LOH from gear, and just not an issue. So you can really use this build as long as you have about 400 all resists and above 25,000 life. You can really just live. The reason I use a life on kill scorn is because it's easier, and easier tends to mean better XP per hour on average. And the reason that that's the case is because no one's perfect, and you have to do a lot of these runs to get the kind of XP it takes to get to high Paragon and to get the fat loot. And after doing 5 or 6, you're gonna get sloppy. And having some life on kill to fall back to, so you run into a reflex pack, you're just not paying attention, your roommate's talking to you, and you forget to hit 7-sided strike, maybe you would die without the life on kill. And those things start to add up over time. So there is some real benefit to having gear that is not technically necessary. Remember to 7-sided strike this time. So that's the general way you use 7-sided strike. You almost always, and I say almost because it's not 100%, but you almost always want to use Blinding Flash, Faith in the Light, before you 7-sided strike. And it has 2 really good bonuses. The first is you just do 30% more damage, right? It increases your DPS, which means your Fulminating Onslaught's going to hit for more. The second thing that it does that's really cool is it keeps the mobs in a tight little group if you get to them quickly. So I just Tempest Rushed in the middle of that 3-pack of elites, hit Blinding Flash, and then SSS, and it kept them stacked on top of each other, which let the AoE from Fulminating Onslaught hit all of them every hit. And that's really helpful, because it actually significantly increases the DPS your FO will do, or SSS, whatever. So as you can see, if you watched my previous videos, this is much slower. And the reason it's much slower is because you just do less damage. You don't have MOC anymore, so everything you do is doing 12% less damage. You're no longer getting, the pretty cool effect of pulsing damage from MOC submission. And then, this build has quite clearly just lower DPS than my high gold build. And it's not lower by a huge margin. It's not like dual wield Cyclone Monk lower, so it's or higher, I guess. So it's only about I only have about 135,000 DPS in my my normal, fully expensive gear. And you'd think that wouldn't make too much of a difference, but it really does, because there's just a breakpoint where you get to a certain DPS level and all the monsters on MP0 start dying instantly instead of requiring several passes. And then also a non-tangible benefit is I have significantly higher crit chance on my other monk, significantly. So this has there's 38% crit chance on this build, this layout, and I have 41%. 41.5, I think, percent crit chance on my my other monk, and then I have an additional 6% Tempest Rush crit chance from a ring, and that makes a pretty big difference. It allows you to it allows you to get a lot more cyclones off, which is key. So this is something you'll have to do, that you're seeing me do right now. It's why I think that Deadly Reach is a very good skill to keep on your bar, even though you're not necessarily using it frequently. I didn't have SSS up, and if I had had to run in circles and kill those with Tempest Rush, it would have taken a lot longer. Plus, because I killed them with Deadly Reach, it put the Deadly Reach buff back up on me, and so I'm back at having higher DPS. So generally speaking, I think that Deadly Reach is really good. I've heard some arguments for no Deadly Reach at all, just no Spirit Gen, and I just don't like them. I'll definitely do some testing, because, you never know until you run the numbers, but it doesn't seem very likely. Deadly Reach is pretty good. Yeah, so this is pretty much how this works. Uh-oh, almost died. That sucked. Sometimes, if you get stuck standing still, so right there I didn't have SSS up, and I needed to kill those elites, and so I just did what I would normally do, which is just start standing still and hitting them. And because Scorn is slow, you get locked in place for a long time, and that can lead to death pretty easily. So you just got to make sure that you pay attention to how many things are coming at you, and then make sure to not get locked in place while those things are in the air. And so you're actually much less capable of dying while Tempest Rushing, even though it doesn't technically give you any defensive stats. The fact that you're moving makes it very hard for monsters to do damage to you. So if you start taking too much damage while fighting an elite, just start Tempest Rushing in circles. Yeah, so this is the exact same run that I detail in my other videos. Credit to Cow for this, because it's a great run. It is better XP per hour on average than Al-Kaiser route. I get a lot of questions about that specifically, so I guess I'll explain it. The Al-Kaiser route has a higher potential XP per hour. So if you get lucky, and all of the different elites that can spawn do spawn, then the Al-Kaiser route is better, because you go to 5 stacks instantly before Arrakis Crossing, which is good. But on average, not enough elites spawn in Tower of Damned level 1 and in Core of Ariat to make it worth running through those zones, because it's got no value at all outside the elites. It has very low mob density compared to these other zones. And so, while the potential of the Al-Kaiser route is very high, the actual XP per hour average is lower. I don't know if that's true for Barbarians. I assume it's not, because Al-Kaiser seems to be very good at what he does. But that is my experience. I've tested it as well, and done real testing, like serious hours and hours of testing, and it's been the same result every time. So that's why I recommend this route over the Al-Kaiser route, even though everybody seems to generally be in love with the Al-Kaiser route. You will get strictly less loot from this run, because it's shorter, and in this game, the way Nephilim Valor works, you will just get less loot for it being shorter. So if you don't care as much about XP, and you really love the loot right now, and you don't want to wait for Paragon 100, then I would recommend sticking with the Al-Kaiser route. Tooled that guy. Alright, so that's the whole run. Now we're done. You saw it wasn't hard. I almost died once, but it's because I was talking and standing still while stuff was shooting me. I ran into many reflex packs. No issues. SSS saves you sometimes, but you don't even need SSS. Again, life after each kill, it's not even a high value. You can get like 11,000 life on kill on Scorn. Probably higher. And it just doesn't matter, is kind of the point. None of this, it's all just random stuff. I bought every single piece on buyout that I bought, that I didn't find myself. I bought it all in one day within 5 minutes. So it's not like I auction house searched for this. So yeah, that's the whole run. I'm also going to include a timed run so you can see. I'm able to get, on average, about 65 million XP per hour. I was getting 70 million before, and I switched to this ring from my other monk's main Tempest Rush ring, and I switched from my other monk's gloves to this gloves, and I guess that was a big enough decrease in DPS and crit chance that it really hurt the XP per hour. So you can get better. You can get up to about 70 million XP per hour, but the way to do it is to spend more money. Get a good Tempest Rush crit SOJ. Get some good crit on all your items. Like 8.5 is less than this could have. You know, Strong Arm Bracers has 1.5 less than it could. This has 2 less than it could. This has 7 less than it could. This has 1 less than it could. This has 1 less than it could. So you can get a lot more crit out of all that. And if you do, you spawn more cyclones, and more cyclones equals winning. Alright, so that's everything. Yeah, right after this I'm just going to show the video of the speedrun, so if you guys are interested in that, check it out. Alright, thanks a lot. Have a good one.